So am I. The computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top. Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I.
All right, guys. We're gonna go through and kind of talk about the maps. One thing I didn't get a chance to do that the first go around. We were trying to get the stream set up and whatnot. So right now I have no delay set. This is just you and I having a conversation about the maps that are on the list. And then once we're about to do the matches, I'll end the stream, readjust the stream delay for anyone that's wondering. And yeah, so it's out of the way here. Warships Wiki has all these maps available. All I did was kind of snip them and then save them to my shit. Okay, so First map is going to be Atlantic. Second map, Land of Fire. Third map, Crash Zone. Fourth map, Warrior's Path, if we get to the fourth map. And then the tiebreaker is Northern Waters. So we'll talk about Atlantic first a little bit and kind of go through what this entails, what this map really is for the different ship types. I think battleships are going to have one of the harder times, especially with dealing with spam cruisers. Let me move my camera so you can see the whole thing here. I'll go like this. It's better. And then I'll move the chat box up a little bit. There you go. Okay. Again, for anyone who's going to be in the game streaming their matches, no delay is basically being asked of you. That way both teams are basically zero delay, but the streamers that are doing the commentary, we're going to have our own delay set. That's one of the rules. It's clearly stated in the rules. So, anyways, Atlantic, you're going to have, obviously, your 3 spawns on each side. One side is always going to be the weak side with 2. It's an 8v8. What we've seen a lot of times is a cruiser with a destroyer. Depending on, you know, how many cruisers, how many destroyers you have. If you have, I think, if you run 2-3-3, that's probably going to happen that way. So you're going to have 3 destroyers. Well, the way I just said it, 2-3-3 is 2 battleships, 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers. But you should start with the destroyers because they're in the front lines. So you would say it 3-3-2. Anyways, destroyers backing into caps here or here. This is one of the more dangerous hotspots for a destroyer when they back in. So you just got to be careful. You're going to have a lot of torpedoes coming that way. This is the, of the 3 torpedo lanes from the south side, this is the most common torpedo lane being used. Drunk Captain, thank you so much for the sub, man. Welcome. Battleships tend to kind of hover in this area. Cruisers tend to get right up in here along these islands. This is the more dangerous islands here. But I also think it's one of the more valuable islands because when you get here, depending on if you're on this side or this side, you can shoot across into this large area. But if you're over here, you're kind of delegated to shooting across here or across here. But if you make it to this island somehow, you're going to have really good close support for your destroyer capping A from this north spawn. Oof. Can I show you guys this? Aaron just sent me this. That's what he's eating after his workout this morning. Perfectly cooked steak. Marbled eggs. I love marbled eggs, man. I really do. I don't know if you guys can see that really well, but... Anywho. Alright, so that's the north spawn, south spawn. Same thing. You're going to have torpedoes coming through here. This is the most used one. Torpedoes coming through here, it's going to take too long to rotate in the middle, so... Best map for real? I think it's one of the more balanced maps. I personally don't like this map, but... Anywho. Oh, I can zoom in? I thought it was not letting me zoom in anymore. I think it's very dangerous for destroyers that are going from Bravo to Alpha to rotate this way. Especially when you don't know where these guys are at over here. Because if you rotate in front of this island, or this one, now you have nowhere to go. You're completely broadside, and you can't go bow in, because then you're just going to get closer to them. You can't turn around, because when you turn around, either you're going to hit the island, or you're going to have to come around, but you're going to stay broadside. So, a lot of times, if you don't know what's going on over here, you want to kind of use that island as a shield in case there's a radar, in case there's a destroyer closer to you. But in the initial stages, it's very important for the destroyers. What we've seen is to stay away from these lanes early on. You know, kind of get into a position where you can contest, let your teammates, give them the information that they need, and hopefully they capitalize on mistakes that the enemy team makes. I should say the other team, not the enemy team. The other team makes. So, that's why I can't iterate this enough. As a destroyer player, as a destroyer main, from my perspective, I want to get to the front line as fast as possible, as safe as possible, and as efficiently as possible, so that I can give my teammates the enemy locations in a manner that catches them off guard. They're not expecting to be spotted at a certain time. So if you get to those spots and you spot them before they are able to successfully rotate, you're going to penalize them every time, man. You're going to make them pay. But destroyer players have to do that. Obviously, that's my play style, especially early in the stages. Like, you're gonna get those spots as quickly as possible, so that and the other thing too is, okay, if I get those spots before the enemy team gets their spots, right? Okay, so now my cruisers that are rotating know where their battleships are, know where their cruisers are. You'll be able to spot torpedoes a little quicker too. Backing into caps is important, but it's how you do it, where you do it, and how you do it. If you back into a cap during a, in a torpedo lane, you're risking not being able to get out of the way in time for those torpedoes. Especially at tier 8, there's plenty of destroyers with fast torpedoes. I'm slightly surprised I don't see Velos out there, but I understand that there's better DDs, like, Smolin is better than Velos, Lucian's better than Velos, Z46 is there, but that's what we've seen. We haven't seen any Mogadors, we haven't seen anything that can flank really quickly, get in and out of battles. Probably won't. I haven't seen a Delny, but again, we only just watched that last match. So some of you guys who have been playing in this tournament, might have first-hand encounters and first-hand experience on what ships some teams have been using, but all we got was that snippet from this last match. I'm responding to a DM quick. Who picks the maps? The Fleet Network picks the maps. That's just covering A, but that's kind of like I said, it's a rule of thumb for a lot of, I've been talking about destroyer play for a very long time now because it's one of the weakest positions, weakest roles in terms of overall quality in the game. You guys all know that there's a lot, you can go through an entire list of cruiser and battleship players. You don't see a whole lot of really good DD players, and the ones that are like miles ahead of the next person because they're just it's a very let's see. Yeah, it's a class that a lot of people either don't like or don't want to play, not interested in. They're just hoping that the friendly DD on your team is good. But the rules of thumb, like I said, spotting, continuous spotting, avoid torpedo lanes, avoid taking too much damage, because that's not your job. Your job not to tank. Yes, your job is to engage other destroyers, but you have to engage them safely. Bring them to you. Make sure that you have the advantage. You don't have to take 1v1s, especially early on. Sometimes you do. The situation does call for it, but a lot of times it doesn't call for it. You just make that decision yourself. You're like, I'm gonna take this 1v1, even though I don't really need to right now. But those mistakes, or those choices can lead to mistakes down the road that cost your team. So you want to make sure that you do it safely. I'll give you an example. When I played in the Super Cup, I did not engage a lot of destroyers 1v1. Some people kept calling me passive, but if you looked at the score, looked at where we were at, look at the map control that we had, didn't need to take that fight. Because I'd rather be called passive, I'd rather be called this and still be alive and win the game, than be aggressive and then my teammates are like, why did you take that fight? You didn't need to do that. That's the worst thing you could hear, because that's just you trying to be a hero when you don't need to be, right? So, an example of someone that needed to was Big Sip in one of our games. You guys all know it. It's a very famous play. One of the best plays I've ever seen anyone make. He took a 1v1 with a Des Moines as Kleber. He needed to, because his team was down. Our team was down at the last second, and he got that kill and got us the victory. That needed to happen. We needed something, so that was huge for him. I never had a situation like that in any of my games where I needed to go take, a DD down. However, the point that the point in time that I'm trying to point out is in one of the very last matches. I think Game 4 against CRD, I had to go 1v1 with a Z52 in my Kleber. I needed to take that because we were losing points. He was contesting a cap. We weren't gaining anything. We needed to win that. With that 1v1, I took it. I was able to get some help from my cruiser Galaxy Wolf, able to take that Z52 out, and then Galaxy Wolf did a heroic play right after that to basically cement our victory there and make a comeback and take it to a Game 5. So that was huge. We needed that. There are times where, as a player, you start maturing, you start being able to filter through experience when to take 1v1s, when not to take 1v1s. Early in the game, there's no need to. Early in the game, yeah, take their health out, but don't sacrifice too much of yours. So it decreases your effectiveness over the course of the 15 minutes if you only have, let's say you have 20,000 health as a DD player, and then all of a sudden you're down to like 7, 3 minutes in. Now the rest of the game you gotta play passive, right? So yeah. Anyways, I've seen that in the last game a few times. Delaware had an amazing torpedo drop on the Z46 right here. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see that. Oh, right here. It was awesome. That was a great play, but there was a few moments where BTEP could have won those. They could have won 2 of those games, and a lot of times it's just, like I said, those mental mistakes. But looking back at it, I can always just judge the gameplay and say this is wrong or whatever. But we can all agree that when you're in the moment, and you're hearing comms and you're hearing all these audibles, you're hearing, oh, go here, and then someone else says, no, you should go here. That team synchronization is really important, because you don't want to hear 2 things at once. That shit sucks. Where they're telling you, go here. No, he should go here. I rarely ever hear that from us. We normally fine-tune that in scrims anyway, but in the game, having somebody call the shots and then everybody else fall in line and do their roles is incredibly important. So like I said, we don't know what was going on in their comms for either team, but we can see the effect of their strategies, and we can judge the strategies. Just don't judge the player. But that's just these are 4 games out of the 10,000 that they've played. So everybody that I saw played really well, but like I said, one team made less mistakes than the other. That's it. So Alright, so next map. We got our matches starting up soon. I spent a little too much time on this map, but the rotation of this map are pretty wide open as a DD player. Next map is not that. Hold on. What's the next map here? Land of Fire. Where is it at? Thought I had it up. Really? Oh. Okay. Land of Fire is the next map. We saw some key rotations from the Tulsa rotating around, and I believe it was, Leningrad. He had a beautiful spot, man. He abandoned that spot per whatever his team was for the strategy, what they were going to do, what they're trying to do. I think he was rotating, try to get out to here. But anyways, it was a beautiful spot here for a cruiser. I don't think I've ever really seen that. Normally a DD comes into here or here. But they were to cap these two. I think this is a great illustration of crossfire from battleships. The Repub from Steel Alliance rotated all the way to here, had a clear shot on Tulsa, beautiful shot. I think it was like 14k. Actually, no, it was more than that because when the Tulsa rotated this way, he was down to like 7k health. So that was a double citadel from the Repub. The Lucian was here spotting the Tulsa rotation, so it could have been nice to have a little bit of smoke here, maybe for the rotation, but that was one of the key moments in that game. And then the Z46 coming into here, then sandwiching himself between two cruisers. I understand what he was doing, though. He was trying to contest his cap so that they can stop losing points, but losing him was, more relevant, in my opinion. But I think that, like I said, the crossfires, I think a battleship rotating from middle over here was nice. Like I said, you get that crossfire going. On this side, however, you might not get the greatest crossfires because most of these cruisers are going to be right back into here already. But when someone's rotating this way, even if you're trying to fire, they're going to be able to easily dodge that. But coming from the other side, these shells are blind. You can't spot this battleship behind these islands, only in these little spots. But a lot of times that battleship's going to wait to be unspotted, shoot those shots, and then you're not even going to notice these shells in the air already. So lots of good action here at Charlie on that. And once you win that Charlie flank, you push across to Bravo, and then they're basically cornered over here. So it was a great game to watch. After that, the other match is going to be so Atlantic, Land of Fire, Crash Zone. This map gives me a lot of nightmares. Some of my worst games have been played on this map. And some of my friends' best games have been played on this map. This is one of those maps that is incredibly hard to come back from when you're down a lot of points. Especially when you don't have any destroyer players that are going to be able to contest caps. Because rotating along this way, you have no cover. Like I said, destroyers, if they start winning their battles and they get those torps in and all that stuff, it's super important to get them out of the way quickly. Because when you have destroyer advantage on this map, it is incredibly important. It's more important than having a battleship or a cruiser advantage. Because, like I said, if you don't have any destroyers on your team and you're needing that your cruisers and your battleships basically take these you have no cover at all rotating horizontally. Vertically, you kind of do. You have some islands here and there, and even on this side. But this rotation up here, I always hated because it takes you out of the battle. Like you should always try to cap. You should always try to have like coverage of 2 caps, unless you need to rotate far out wide. But like these rotations out here, they're kind of sucky because you're not gonna have map control. But what I've seen people do is take a cruiser, bring it up to here. DD go middle, battleship over here. and then you kind of have a little bit of crossfire going, kill zone of any DD that gets spotted. But gotta hit your shots, you know, or the shots gotta hit. Even some of the best marksmen out there are gonna have problems hitting a DD here. Now, one of the biggest things is if you get your cruiser to here, then this DD that comes into Charlie, when they turn around, they're gonna hit this island. And then you're going to be able to have radar coverage, and then now he's kind of trapped here. I've seen that many, many times. People underestimate this turning radius right here. It's smaller than you think. Giggity. Obviously, a lot of DDs are going to be, you know, passive in here in the middle. That's kind of one of those that you got to win one of the flanks so that you can push across. Once you push across and you have that horizontal leverage, that's the key to this map, having that horizontal leverage. Being able to kind of push this way, then now they have no cover vertically, because now you're on their flank. Next map after that, Warrior's Path, which, map's okay, but let's see if I can get that. There we go. This one I had to kind of, I found it somewhere else. I found it on the PC version, so that's why it looks like that. So, I move across. There we go. You guys can kind of see that better now. Again, with these 3-3-2 spawns or 3-2-3 spawns, however you have it set up, you're always going to have one weak point. One weak side with two. Hopefully that weak side is going to have a destroyer. That destroyer's job is going to be just continuous spotting and harassing with torpedoes. And depending on how you built it, maybe you might be able to harass them with your guns and just avoid damage. And just keep them over there. This is one of those that if you have the flanks, it doesn't necessarily mean you have the advantage. Where in Crash Zone, you have no cover horizontally. This one you do. You have kind of coverage all over the place. You have coverage vertically and horizontally. So if somebody does take the flanks, you do have cover to kind of go off of. But I think this, is this right? These islands? I feel like this is more this way. Or, no, I think our cap is over here. Yeah, these caps might be off just a little bit. Yeah, I think our circle is right here. Because it engulfs this. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think this might be off a little bit. But anyways, I think that the battleships and cruisers are going to be a little bit more important on this map based on DPM and crossfires. I've seen a lot of battleships over here being able to smack the shit out of cruisers right here. That's huge. Because a lot of times you're not going to have anything to shoot over here because they're going to be behind an island waiting for you to make a mistake. Whereas if you're over here, you're only going to have coverage, you know, attack coverage on this side, so you can basically trap a DD or push him off that flank back to the north. But you can't push him too far because you have a cruiser here or a battleship here just sitting there waiting, so you got to be careful. Yeah, I know that they're not exactly the same, but I feel like this circle needs to be pushed this way more. Because I remember, I think the A-cap has that island kind of like right here. But anyways, Bravo, in my opinion, if you own Bravo and you get Bravo and defend Bravo, that is the most important cap on this map. However, that importance is going to be influenced by your ship selection. Because if you do not have ships that can hold Bravo, or like builds that can hold Bravo, like for example DD with sonar, cruiser that has a fast reloading radar, because you're gonna need that in here. Sonar, this is Sonarville right here. So if you can hold that cap while your team takes one, then all you got to do is hold it. So what I always like shoot for, or what I like teams to do, is to hold these two caps. Get these two caps and hold them. Because once they're over here, that rotation over to B and C, it's going to be a lot harder for them to cross that open water. Especially if you have a good crossfire set. And if you're holding these two caps, what I'm assuming is you won this flank. So your team up here, your team's here, and you got some guys here. Just holding it. Holding a vertical line. Or the other way, I just think it's a lot harder to hold it from Charlie, because from Charlie they have a little bit more leverage. Although from Alpha you're going to be able to get more DPM out because you have cruisers that can shoot over these islands here. Not necessarily over here. They'd have to be out in the open. So it also depends on, do you have destroyer advantage or not? You know, and that goes back to destroyer play. So that's Warriors Path. That would be game 4. Game 5, the tiebreaker is Northern Waters. That's definitely ours for sure. Northern Waters. What to say about this one, huh? It's almost like a combination of the last map, Warriors Path, combined with Crash Zone, because of these angled islands, but there's also more of them. There's also more islands. So, again, early on, getting right in here. See this area, and then this area right here. So here, here, and here are the hot spots for rotations. And if a destroyer catches you and sees you there, and all of a sudden shells start flying, RNG is now going to take over. And your fate is basically in the hands of the game. So the way you rotate and the way you get spotted, or the angle that you get spotted at, it's going to be huge, man. You got to be really careful. I will say that the southern spawn has a little bit more of a disadvantage because of where they have to rotate. They have to rotate farther around. Whereas these guys can kind of hit right here. And I'm just going to be completely blatantly honest. This island here is way better than this island for shooting across. So I think the northern spawn on Northern Waters is a better spawn, in my opinion. Especially for trying to get your DPM output there early on in the game. And take map control. Map control might be easier from the southern spawn, but I think DPM and just constant harassment is better from the north. Torpedo lanes, depending on the time of the game, I think the first 30 seconds, you're going to see this massive area of torpedoes. You rarely ever see torpedoes come through here because it has a very low chance of hitting anything. However, if you have like a Jutland, you can get up in there. The Spalin maybe with the set of 3, but not with the set of 5. Charlie is going to be a higher skill level for when, or for like torpedo hits, pre-fire torp hits. Obviously this lane here, one of my favorite lanes though, if you get there fast enough, is right here. This one. Because if you don't hit the DD, you might hit the cruiser behind it. I've done that plenty of times. Not in comp, because players are actually good in comp, but in standard, you'll see it. And sometimes people bring standard habits into comp, and they find out very quickly that's not going to help them. So this is the tiebreaker one. You may or may not see it. Hopefully we do get to see it. You know, we get to see 5 games. That'd be great. But we got some games to cover today. Hope you guys enjoyed that little talk there. I'm going to get these games rolling. Got the links. Got him. Before I do, let me end the stream, guys, and then we will come back and do some commentary. I'm gonna get with